So you're walking down the street in your hometown, minding your own business, not looking to bother anybody, and suddenly, the town bully is charging down the middle of the street dressed in red. It's Mr. Trolley, and he's gonna kill 5 people! Unless you step into his path and punch him, slightly hurting him and allowing those 5 people to get away. Of course, this thought exercise is famous because it has a lot of variations. What if you do punch Mr. Trolley and then he says he was just kidding? What if you punch him and your right hook is so powerful that it kills him? What if you're not close enough to punch him, but you do have a gun? What if those 5 people were no angels? Facebook has announced that they are going to ban certain kinds of anarchist groups from posting on their platform. I've posted down in the description a link to Facebook's own statement on the matter, as well as to some commentary on it that I think is particularly cogent, but I wanted to put in my own feelings here as well. I've talked on this channel in the past about the fact that I am pretty anarchist myself, and what that means, that it's not Heath Ledger as the Joker, who is very much an archist. Not an anarchist, but an archist. Anyway, the etymology of the words comes from against and hierarchy. In other words, something real close to democracy, maybe even a bit more so. That people shouldn't be in charge of each other unless there's a really good reason for them to be so, like a parent or somebody in charge of a surgery in an operating room who can see everything going on and direct stuff. In situations that are not that, people shouldn't be in charge of each other because they don't need to be, and it creates injustice. So that's what anarchist means. Now, words are sticky, and as they roll through the years, they pick up extra connotations. Not everybody who uses this word is using it the same way as I am, and that's fine. I just want you to understand what I mean when I say it about myself, which is not that I want to steal all the money and put it in a big pile and burn it, and then blow up a hospital. It is, in fact, that I want to give food to everybody. Anyway, Facebook is clearly not talking about that sort of thing, which I get. But listen, even though they say they're only banning the ones that celebrate violence, that still is kind of dangerous, and I want to explain why. First off, what is violence? Who decides what is violence? Is self-defense violence? Is self-defense before the other person has hit you violence? Is vandalism violence? Mostly not, but sometimes, yeah, kinda. In fact, I can get behind that. Let's fight all of our wars with spray paint from now on. That sounds amazing. I made a reference to the trolley problem at the beginning of this, which, as you probably know, usually involves an actual trolley and not a dude. There's 2 tracks. 5 people are tied up here. 1 person is tied up here. It's barreling towards the 5 people. Do you pull the lever, redirecting the trolley to the 1 person, killing them and saving the other 5? I am not here to relitigate the trolley problem. I am here to remind you that it exists. And the reason it sparks so much debate is that people, in fact, do not always come to the same conclusion about what the right answer is in any particular instance of the trolley problem. Perfectly good people can disagree about this and not walk away thinking each other are monsters. In other words, almost everybody thinks that some amount of violence is okay. Whether it's because you think self-defense is okay, or you think taking the first hit if somebody else is going to get violent is okay, or you're not thinking about it that hard and you just have big feelings that you need to get out in somebody else's face. Everybody's got at least one, probably several lines that they'll draw on this, but almost nobody is going to say that no violence is okay. So, like, unless you're Malala Yousafzai, in which case, welcome to the channel, I'm honored to have you. It's silly to pretend that violence is never okay. Celebrating violence is another thing that's going to have a whole lot of different variations. I think we can all agree that going, woo, get him, that was what he deserved, is a celebration, but what else? Is it celebrating violence to say, I agree that this was justified? What are the standards that they're applying? I don't know. The post doesn't say. I really doubt that they have a system for it, to be completely honest. There is no universally right answer to the trolley problem, but there is a wrong answer, which I contend is to say, oh, I wouldn't let anyone get hurt. Okay, that's great. I would love that. So, do you mean that you'd pull the lever to save the 5 people and let the one person... No, I don't want the one person to get hurt either. Well, super. So what are you gonna do? Nothing. Okay, well then 5 people are gonna die. No, I don't want them to die. Okay, so what are you gonna do? I'm not gonna do anything. I just want everybody to be okay. Like, it doesn't work that way. And listen, I agree. Maybe we should redesign our public transportation system so that trolleys quit bearing down on people. But a lot of folks are out here not wanting to do that either. And we gotta do something. I am also a pacifist. I wish we could all get along. I completely understand the instinct to throw yourself at the trolley like Sailor Moon and say, I know there's good in there if you'd only come out. But what right do I have to look at somebody else and say, people are attacking your children and you have to let them? Here are 2 stories that illustrate what I'm talking about. They're both taken from the Book of Mormon, which you don't have to be down with. Just take them as stories. I mean the book, by the way, not the other thing. In one story, there is a group of people that has a tradition of doing a lot of raiding and a lot of murdering and a lot of general bloodshed and stealing. And that group of people collectively decides to change their ways. And they decide that they want to make absolutely sure that they never return to that way of life. So they dig a big hole and they bury all of their swords and make a promise to God never to kill again, even in self-defense. And when they are attacked by their enemies, they fall on their knees and they say, please don't kill us. And some of them get mowed down and they still don't go back on their promise. Years later, some of their children who have not made the promise do take up arms to defend their families, but the ones who really felt that this sin of violence was on them choose to make this covenant. In a later story, there is a civilization that has a democratic government, and there is a charismatic leader who wants to become the monarch of this government and put his friends in charge, and put himself at the top of the hierarchy. There is a military leader of the people who wants to oppose this coup on their government and maintain freedom. However, the would-be king's buddies want to be put in mid-cool positions, and they say, we're not going to fight in your army. We are going to sit by. And the military leader says to them, if you are going to sit by and watch your neighbors get killed, you are an enemy combatant, and I'm going to treat you like an enemy combatant and kill you. And I have to say, I love both of these stories. I think that they both have valuable things to teach in the context of the situations that they're in. I believe that all people are basically the same kind of thing and have value. I believe that some people are under different levels of threat. I believe in a more spread out government where there is less hierarchy among us. I believe in a more spread out economy where there is more well-being among us. I believe that if somebody comes at you with a sword, you're allowed to meet them with a sword. And listen, I know a lot of people from my social circles think that this is super radical, but the American Revolution was an anarchist conflict. And again, that's weird to hear, I understand that, but they were specifically fighting against a hierarchy, trying to create greater equality, and there was violence. I think most of the people I know are okay with that. And I want those people to understand that what a lot of the folks who call themselves anarchists are going for is that kind of thing, but better. And you can disagree about individual policies that should happen, but just banning all talk of it outright makes me pretty uncomfortable. One of the links that I put down below refers to the inconsistency of Facebook's treatment of these policies that it has. How it will remove something where somebody talks about punching a cop, for example, but it will leave up white supremacist calls for violence. It's spotty. It's not going to be perfect, but it seems to be imperfect on one side, and that's a really big problem. As if this wasn't complicated enough, let me take it a step further. I don't begrudge Facebook the decision to take anything that they want off of their website. It is a privately owned property, and they don't have to platform anybody. I fully support taking down child pornography and white nationalist movements and quack coronavirus cures. Those things hurt people. It's not censorship, because it is their website, and they are not the government. I understand if somebody looks at me and says, hey, you're being a hypocrite, but let's be really precise about what I'm saying here. I think Facebook has the right to do this. And that in the case of anarchists, they should not. Because they are taking down something that, in my opinion, brings more good to the world than bad. And those other things do not bring more good to the world than bad. White supremacists kill people. The number of people who have been killed by Antifa or by people associating themselves with the term Antifa, it's 0. It's none. And if that number is still too high for you, I don't know what to say. If you can prevent harm coming to people by doing a smaller amount of harm, sometimes you should. Maybe sometimes you shouldn't. I think anarchist principles are a force for good in the world. I think they're a force for peace in the world. I think anarchism is the least violent ideology I've ever studied. I also think it's the most honest about it. And if that's what gets them banned from public platforms, I think that's a crappy thing to be punished for.